Let's take a look at harness feature flags and the open source relay proxy. So we're looking at an instance of harness feature flags here, and as I toggle flags in the UI, either via streaming or polling, those changes will be propagated out to my applications where we're running the harness feature flags SDKs. We'll talk a little bit about the SDKs here. In our documentation, we have pretty extensive breakdown of how the SDKs work and communicate with harness, but let's just take a look at JavaScript for a high level overview. We do have in other videos deeper dives in the SDKs. So when you install the SDK as a dependency in your app, the first thing you're going to do is initialize it and provide it an SDK key. And it's going to be different keys for different environments so that your production environment will have different flags than your dev environment. And then you define the target object. The target is the user or account or the session, whatever data structure you want to use to control who can see flags, such as turn the flag on for this individual or for this account or for all the folks in this location. We have other videos and deep dive in the documentation on how to use targets to accomplish all the rollout scenarios you might be looking for. And then you configure some of the SDK parameters and move on to passing it actual flags to evaluate. And normally what would happen is, again, the SDKs run in your app, they connect to harness, and as we make these changes, those events go back and forth to update your running applications. But this is where the relay proxy can come in. So the relay proxy is an open source service we've built. You run it on your infrastructure, and it actually sits in between your applications and harness. So your SDKs talk to the relay proxy talks to harness. And the reason you might want to do this is maybe you have a completely air-gapped or offline environment where the SDKs can't communicate with harness. You can bundle the relay proxy in there to get all flag evaluations. Maybe you want to shorten the connectivity between your applications and the flag evaluation. You can run that relay proxy local to your infrastructure so the SDKs don't have to reach out. Or maybe you just want the added resiliency and control and the extra layer in the middle so that if there's ever any kind of connectivity issue upstream, you've got the relay proxy there that will continue to serve flag evaluations without interruption. And the relay proxy can even be side-loaded with JSON. So in the event of some sort of outage scenario, if you've got the relay proxy, you can even make flag changes without any issues. Now in our documentation, we've got everything you'll need to deploy the relay proxy. It comes as a simple Docker image. On the sidebar, you'll see configuring TLS, caching, all the endpoint data you might need. And the one thing I would make sure to call out is monitoring the proxy. This is something you run on your infrastructure. You can run it as a fleet in a high availability mode, and then you'll want to make sure you have the monitoring in place so that you know the proxy or the fleet of proxies are staying healthy. And of course, if you want to use the proxy in offline mode, you'll see that information here. If we jump back to the JavaScript SDK, once you've got the proxy in place, it's as simple as updating this base URL so that instead of pointing to harness, the SDK is now pointing to the relay proxy. So that's the open source relay proxy for harness. Again, sits in between your applications and harness so that you can run feature flags offline, hybrid, or with an extra layer of performance and resiliency in the middle.